Nye me Tan Zhōi Tēn Yé Jé Bōi Bōi Jé Jé Lai Zén Zén Bō La Tai Zhāi Sān Bō Tai Bē Yé Rāng Ngō Qian Zhen Lai Ma Tai Bai Jie Na Xuan Gui Kai La Jian Zhen Jian Zhe Qian Da Lai Zan Bei Liu Jie Se Ma Da Quan Ye Cai Wai Aman Do So Nam Dai Vi Se Yin Lei Xian Ba Ye So Zhōi Guo La Cai Doi Mian A Yang Tai Mian Lai Ngō Sui Gui Rai Dan Xian Dian Ba Do Mian Noi Dian Ba Rai Zhō Tai Zoi Qi Ni Sai Bei Ge Wo Di Dian Dai Zhōi Wo Guan Lai Kan Pin Qie Ba Rai Jie Zi Lai Zan Chai Ba Ye Dian Bei Nian Bo Rian Doi Sai Jie Shou Mian Mian Zi Wei Dili Jian Jian Ri Zi Jie Mian Jian Bei Wang Boi Jian Bei Yang Tue Boi Ma Li Zhōi Zi San Wei Kai Jian Ge Bei Zui Jian Zong Gai Bo Loi San Chai Bei Shai Lai So Wa De Mian Mian Zi Wei Dili Jian Jian Ri Zi Tie Mian Jian Bei Wang Boi Jian Bei Yang Tue Boi Ma Liu Zhōi Zi San Wei Kai Jian Kian Bei Zui Jian Zong Kai Ba Loi San Chai Bei Shai Lai So Wa Di Mian Mian Zi Wei Dili Jian Jian Ri Zi Jie Mian Jian Bei Wang Boi Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta motivation, we should participate in this discourse on the Bodhisattva's way of life.
That is true because Shunzum de Chuju is done any Zumba Tamjak Kaduti. The George the say Casa Domlan Juba, Logi the Shevasha, Muji Mojuba, the Jibi, the Riki Dayam, the J. Kindusamba, Dalemi, Rog Yelagoma Shavi, Gawad Gumcher, Dagi TV show. The dark is the cage, he paid your law. The Kenya Bashi, the Tono to you, Jurs. What people Sholaka just use a bit. What they call King Joa, the Joa Jawata, what to get it, don't make that still, that the name of she is. There was a Nepazobata Jan, they say, yes, or they say, Lams at this year. Tell a good on to the Tatilia in Karsa, Zobatam Joshi, good on to the signals, his year or day, but good on the Karsa, Zobatam Joshi, and you don't see the judge of Cartango, take you don't see. Signals the 60 things that Sidon so less. Tom Zobatam, only more. Dhamma nam kelam be khur naya mendirshi. Tila naya loba mesi be zomba tashi ba jiwa te sharab dongbuli yas Dhamma nam keshe mesi ba. Kete kaya kete lao jina dola rimo chewa tayi shen shen tuyo ma jiwa. She da yedon re shen le. Shen don tsawa che na sok jiri yang. Rangu nipa taba nipa taba misi te. Kibu tamba kur wakta. So nyambe se ni naya ni dormi chi chi so. Tati kaje zumba tamse gowa di ka zumba tamse sini karshe korsana. Zumba tamse sheta ni zumba tashi bi gowa yare. Karshe tamse moji se ta chungna en zama she ma shuna sha so she tempo she ma ene di yik de te shibu shuna. Ene tejo tamya te shu de le de what de bing so da ene me kibu tamba se da de ba so ke tambo kelan shi ma kelan she za na ene kelan do ma res. Da me kazu mo ji chaba to na da kelan la mo da ene kelan le la ya ro. Kibu tamba ene de kele la kelan stang ma res. Kelan she za na kelan le shagu ma res. O ti to da so ba tamse gowa do ti is go da.
So as you know, we started this discourse on a guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, or Bodhisattva Char Avatar, by the great Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva. And as you know, I'm using this translation by Stephen Batchelor's in English and published by the Tibetan Library. And there may be other translations that you are using. So Geshe said that we already talked about what we call the salutation, in Tibetan called chöje, expression of worship, literally translating it. And then we also looked at the pledge of composition, or Sombar Tamchava. The reason why, for example, on page 3, you will find it is that here the great Bodhisattva Shantideva, he pledges that he is going to complete this discourse on Bodhisattva's way of life. The purpose of doing this pledge is so that he will, keep his pledge and fulfill his pledge. Let's say if you don't pledge, then what happens? Sometimes we feel like doing it, other times we may feel like not doing it. So there is a risk that we may, drop the ball, so to speak, and not complete our, project. But when you make the pledge, especially Kibutamba, holy beings, right? These, when they make pledge, their pledge is as good as inscribing things in the rock. So it is very solid, and they are never going to give up their pledge. So that's the reason behind this composition of pledge. Yes.
What is that? Because that Shara Dombulis Namjish Tanda, what about me Kizim says she said. Any gentleman Java Dear Tombe Casa Java, you don't Java say a danger, you don't resist a long singer some danger. She knows no so serious, so serious. Rogue never told him, see this project. She don't be there some Shartse to so again. The gig to come into Kazu so much. And Tamcha had the first humor stick into music.
So they cited two sources here to substantiate the pledge of composition, and one citation is from Sherab Dongbo, or literally translating a wisdom tree. And the other one is a commentary on the 8,000 verses of Wisdom Gone Beyond, Prajna Paramita, by the great Indian master Haribhadra or Sangha Sangpo. So basically what is stated in these sources is this, as Geshe explained, that bodhisattvas, once they make a pledge, they are never going to give up on their pledge. They are going to follow it through. Nice.
Se chaju se mananji, tokma shonju shodu semje, padu karsa cheva shindu labde, tar sanje ve paje se, tikba shimbu se, lamje, ribata da ke ne dübe, ne dübe se, düba shindu labde se, tar sanje ve se paje se tikba shimbu se lamje rimba tata ke ne dübe se nyamle ki domzi shebola jubane deri juje shawo goswa yela se da gaji ti godo de do sikdon son shidu godon de teje ni bazete ti karsa de ini kar de gazna juja de se deji si di ini chawju se bananje ini de de gres topja 다 되는 바디 저 신도 럽지 람 간제 동고에 가서 자주 토마이 네 꿀웅셰 되는 럽럽 저 신도셰 신도 람네 이네 디게 드부 자주 가가 어디 시대 뒤에 땡그레스
So we on page 3 here is labeled as 1B. I quote, here I shall explain how to engage in the vows of the Bodhisattva's children, the meaning of which I have condensed in accordance with the scriptures. So this is a pledge of composition, and it does highlight the 4 features that we talked about before, the purpose of this discourse and the subject matter of this discourse, and so those 4 features we already talked about, 4 interrelated purposes. And as Geshe explained, that Shantideva is telling us that he's going to explain how to engage in the Bodhisattva's path in a very condensed way, meaning that the subject matter of this discourse is a condensed presentation on the Mahayana stages of the path of Bodhisattvas leading to complete enlightenment. So what this means is that he's going to explain how initially one generates bodhicitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment. In the middle, you put that into practice, which means you engage in the 6 perfections or paramitas as Bodhisattva's actions or practices, and these actions or practices will produce the outcome, which is complete enlightenment. So this whole thing, from beginning to the end, from generating bodhicitta, engaging in the 6 perfections, and accomplishing enlightenment, constitute the content or the substance or subject matter of this discourse.
동세한테 생기게다 셴바시나 서즈니 교르게베 삼바테세 다 거기 전주서도 여성제베 방법 가르쳐서 삼보 셈지 드는 시루로 대상제고 어디 제가 동세한테 간주어서나 라바스 담보 전주서 dombalang서는 생기 딜라사서 제바 시루 라네 어떻게 동세한테 당기시나 예전에 domse야들이야 지달라자도 다 대신에 그래서 전주심기 요렇게 라와시데 더몽고리 꾸능조디 쓰고로 심지 어딜라이네 딜란산이 시원에 가서 이네 심기 지저발라 에는 가말 고바드 주바니다 다들 가말 뭐뭐 주바시도 더몽고루들라 뭐바심기다 주바심기니요 어디인시 다 시만 주바스비들 도베스 다 주바스비들 도베스르세는 방자파 뭐자 방과야 엔 주바스르세는 주도야 거기 랑도니디라와 랑도니가 같이 된 거레스 주벨랍자 주주 주주 로바소 로바데세 인섬 야는 돈베스르소 솜요라 대다로 로베스告诉我写吧写我写在堂前帮我写我当心你就写的对吧写我上节节用在堂前一边呢他加写形式加写为当一件节听见节讲呢他的对吧我说他的听到了他的就会写我是呢他一点就会写我写我知道了听我写我浪个个电的我刚刚听的电小的是我是听的电的都是的把写把讲的这个是要么呢他拉巴山接到我的他就说我去通过了都别吃路上的吃路刚刚听到讲那这个是他做的小就是别吃东西我的话
So the whole explanation pertains to the line in the Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, where it says, I shall explain how to engage in the vows of Bodhisattva sons or children. In the vows, the Tibetan word is domba. So that could be explained in several ways. The one way is that here it means the vows related to Bodhisattva's path. Right? That's the specific contextual thing that Bodhisattvas take the Bodhisattva vows. You generate the bodhicitta mind, and then you engage in bodhisattva actions leading to enlightenment. So all of those things are explained, and that's what is meant by I shall explain how to engage in the vows of bodhisattvas. So in this case, when we talk about generating bodhicitta, we talk about two types of bodhicitta. One is aspiring mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta, Mönsen, and one is the engaging mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta, the Juksim. Yeah? And so with engaging mind, you have to take bodhisattva vows, you have to engage in bodhisattva actions, including 6 perfections. So that's one explanation about what does the vows mean in this context. But another interpretation of the vows means vows in general, or as we can talk about 3 types of ethics of vows, such as the ethics of restraining from negativities and so forth, which could be applied to other levels of practice as well.
Tap them but they danger Nika ne wherever you live to Tolan Juju Sawa Temba was what did that in a dome said ya shares in a dome shave, usually they were sitting on the song, usually they were sitting to sit show the water because you will sit on the water. That today goes on in the Shartse baby, Sanji loves Chiva Shiru Lozibagaga, or Titingo, Tenda Carson, Tenjonika, so this day, anything Sanji go Mamata, but we tea part Lamti Gaga or the Tengo. Yes.
So those few words, the vows of Bodhisattva's sons, or I translated as children, comprehensively meaning that I shall explain the vows or the ethics of restraining from negativities or faulty actions, and also explain all the things bodhisattvas need to do and should do, like starting from appreciating the fully endowed human form or precious human life, the human life characterized by freedoms and enriching factors, Delcher, and all the way to attaining complete enlightenment. So that whole like the thing is being captured in this expression, the vows. Because if you only confine to explaining the ethics of refraining from negativities, that's very limiting. Because bodhisattvas also engage in what we call affirmative practices, meaning they need to also observe the ethics of engaging in virtues. Right? Bodhisattvas' practices considered what they should not do or get rid of, abandon, and what they should do or adopt or acquire. So the whole practice of abandonment and cultivation, langtor in Tibetan, or bodhisattvas will be explained in this discourse.
마인데 조제 동삽 야셔와 남시 다 조자 베티바시부 상직 다다 지부 슝우 투모라네 시 상마지 람 타다신 삽 야셔 람디가가 엔 소랑도 게 데셰토 마레스 인 상예 송 덴시인시 도제제 또지 메뉴베스 또바 상기 니기 송게스 롱티바시부 소라 세마지와 남레 슝아 시다와 셴디스 시다와 기스나디스 롱구 곰바 레 만디 파르사 제제바테세 제제바테 조 롱스 제바 포마다 텔라테네 샤 롱구 곰바타 곰바 톡슈바anga 텐데 테네 테네 랑가르 좀비 네바 빵바오스 랑가스는 최도스 롱서세야 돼와 어디 아니 최도 롱서신의 봉금에 롱 상기 롱나 이신의 수비 가서 잡게 뭐도 아니 상기 롱나 마데스 수도 롱서시서는 엔디 사지 자셰 라미남 인나가 다도 수도 셰도고 뭐라 셰도 상기 송되는 셰고레스 셰 상기 송되는 아니 잡기여스도 라즈다 고스도 셰나 에네 데레스 가서 이空度的商业送电的这么有我那边让到当个面试我的到的听中国了吧那说的现在得给的是我的商业龙的这么是这龙头他的投资去问题你说这个也是
So if we ask great Bodhisattva Master Shantideva, so you said you are going to explain how to engage in the vows of Bodhisattvas, children. So how are you going to do that? Are you just going to do it on your own, right? Whatever you think, and or you are going to, follow the teaching of Buddha, Tathagata. And the great Shantideva tells us that he will do that, right, in accordance with the scriptures, meaning that how to accomplish enlightenment following the way of the bodhisattvas constitute the profound path and the extensive path. Okay? So these paths of cannot be explained just on one's own. You cannot make it up, you cannot cook up something, and you cannot explain it based upon your assumptions, because that doesn't work. So I would follow the teaching of Buddha. So basically he's saying that his discourse is, how should I say, his discourse is embedded in Buddha's original teaching. So therefore this is the very authentic way, right? I'll follow the authentic teachings of Mahayana teachings of Buddha and explain the Bodhisattva's vows, or explain the profound and extensive paths of bodhisattvas leading to enlightenment.
Dojong Yomaris, Gova Yoris,
No.
Jela to Toyak, Gova Yoris.
Yes. But then if you say that you are going to follow the teachings of Buddhas to explain Bodhisattva's vows, so that sounds like you are going to say exactly what Buddha already said. So you're going to repeat Buddha. So what's the reason for that? Buddha already said it. There's no need for you to do that. So, so to speak. So Shantideva's response to that kind of speculative thought is that yes, Buddha did teach, but very extensively, and so Buddha gave vast and profound teachings. So what I'm going to do is try to condense Buddha's teachings pertaining to Bodhisattva's way of life, and so that it is put in a very condensed form for the interested practitioners to be able to put it into practice. So that they know, so to speak, it's all in one place. It's almost like spoon feeding. So therefore, what I'm trying to do here is, it's not exactly repeating what Buddha, did, although I draw from Buddha's teachings, but I'm trying to present it in a very condensed form, and so there is a reason for that. So that is very, helpful to the interested practitioners to follow Bodhisattva's way of life.
What is that? It's the Tonado, the Madu carriers, and this Kaza. Dojo Moa, the Kardeng Versena, and the Kasa, Tadati City, and the Sanji long bear town, but the Ruru just Dojo Sasha Yoma, so check the Dubi, so the thing in Dojo Bamache. That and the Sanji bear soon Geshe Momo, sing young to do it, shorting this. In that thing, Gova, the Gova, the Mundu, Dojo may be Johnny or the Tadatika Tango, Resiwacha.
Nice. So Bodhisattva Shantideva's, response, it indicates two things. One is that although he draws from Buddha's teachings, because he said one cannot explain the profound path and extensive path of Bodhisattvas just on one's own. Right? You have to rely upon Buddha's teachings, but that does not mean he's going to repeat exactly what Buddha did, right? And he said Buddha taught extensively, but he's going to condense the teaching. So it's most like spoon feeding, right? So that is really helpful for interested practitioners. And of course Buddha, because he taught extensively, in terms of even the quantity of words, they are just a lot. Whereas in this kind of a condensed discourse, the quantity of words are much less, and so that serves some purpose. So in other words, his response highlights the purpose of doing this discourse, and that there is no fallacy of kind of repeating exactly what Buddha already taught.
That Logido didn't Java said that Tomatam the Sector was you did this year. Hersa Java Shasho, net Zobatam, so said Jabanam, so Shartse, she tongue, she down. Java Shai, she tongue, she was she moved the yard tongue, she was Zenayang. And there shun na Yabata, Rimper Shade, or one of them teaching was it. That Joa Jadatelia. In the Chigas, and the Shartse, she tongue, Congress, and Seattle, she dog when she don't see your the Cardere, Carsa. Baby, do say, and Madrid, some judge. That is my colleague, but today, may say that the Tangle heating was the job pitches wrong zooms today. Your mother, she had del Carsa. Revenge dressing or Rubes has some judge, my colleague, Bong, she do. That didn't sink it doesn't say this shadow. You don't do Joshan did you guys got those to Tangat, then he good more together, correct. Sink it doesn't say no, sink it the direction was sink a yard long in daughters, all yard long to Tarding for the Marta or any shouldn't do or see. But that she do some disease. He gets a shiver that. Chedana Yituya town, the Shartse, the dead chick means could a cut to those who could sing the Nagi, sing for Bong, she do a jug in the water.
So here, Shantideva is telling us that, of course, there are different approaches to, doing discourse. And one would be that, somebody can kind of highlight the important points, and then you can just kind of skip and jump, right, and do that kind of discourse, right? So you're not doing everything systematically. You just kind of highlight some important vital points, and then you just kind of skip other things that's not so important, and that's one way of doing discourse. Okay? Another way of doing discourse is you go, very methodically, systematically, and slow and steady kind of a way. And the metaphor used here is like how the turtle, right? Turtle walks. The turtle doesn't speed up, right? But it just walks very meticulously and slowly and steadily. Okay. So he said he's going to follow that approach to explain Bodhisattva's way of life. Now, another approach to discourse is what we call called lion's gait. Okay, the king of jungle. What that means is that the king of jungle would first kind of stand on a mound, and he will have a panoramic look at all the things. Okay, so once he had that panoramic view, then he will slowly move into the specific locations. So like that, this approach would entail that first, you would give a very condensed sort of a teaching or the discourse, and then you're going to elaborate it, right, slowly. So there are different approaches of way of doing discourse, and Shantideva is going to follow a turtle's way. Slow and steady wins the race. What my footnote?
Oh, David, that day, Tayan Kursa, Toju, the Shiva Shisha. Kodi, Chuju Shiva, the Shiva Ju go at the end of the tattoo soldiers was the go back here. What they should do the Jiva Zig Hashig, the Gozo, Dijatu, non to the Tibetan, and the Geshe Shala, and the Chazu Pakwaris, the Pajik, the own dry Omaris. In Tambusubi Pajik, she was at the end to see the Gagata, Karsu, Changdo, so Marie, result to some of the motor. In the corner, Yishala, this was a Pajik to Juto Maris. The Pajik Doya, she has nothing else to do. She don't Pajik as you are, the own share. In the Pajik of share the shares in share is it, but in the Geshe Shala, the Teju of Pajik, you are the Kasa Numo Valasa, but the gig on the draw your Marisi, the day she your race was the using Javazing Mambo, in that in the pitching not was do.
No, so.
She thought that Jata Jay, so that didn't tell you how to fishing.
So, of course, there are many commentators on Bodhisattva Char Avatar or this Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva. Even in this commentary that I'm using, 5 or 6 different commentaries are referred to or mentioned. In general, it is said that there are 108 commentaries on Shantideva's guide, which means 108 commentators on his work. So of course they will have different way of explaining things. And for some commentators, they said with regard to the salutation or the expression of worship, they said, well, maybe from common perspective it makes sense that you do salutation so that you will be able to fulfill your wish to complete the task and so forth. But they said in reality, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva is an Arya Bodhisattva, transcendental Bodhisattva. So he is not any ordinary person, right, Joe? And so he is not going to face the kind of challenges that ordinary person faces, right, being bogged down by the afflictive emotions and other obstacles. He is Arya Bodhisattva, so he is kind of gone beyond many of those things. So, from his perspective, there's no reason to make the expression of worship. But from common perspective, if a common person is going to start or initiate a project, that makes sense, right? So you want to salute Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you want to have their blessing and inspiration to complete your task. So they said from common perspective, we could explain it that way. But for Bodhisattva Shantideva and Arya Bodhisattva, this doesn't apply. No.
No, that Deshe Church Gunga Soji, Shartse, Deshe Segi Soji, Juja, Juba Shashiva, Juba, Tedaki Shula, Jawat, the Lungi Shebe, Salonso Ponta, and Dordu the Shebe, Deve Jompa, 16 D. Two took then she said, no song, no. This year, what I because I came out down on this year, the Dawaj, but he chose you the Zuba Tamja to get that Geshe would have things you were talking. Because they say, so the Cursa Jujache, Jovashache, what the Gubache, that show line in Jawati, that coming out, Shua Jawati and Lungi gave around the Yavapomashi, don't you see this on? In Sanjay Besun to Jashabo Kazaka town, the Kazaka Jashabo Yoris, he gets to do with Dodus, the David on the Bangora, Gubas and the David on Bangores. Longi Shaver on the pond, the Dodi Shaver, on 16 D. Tone took then she, no song last. Young tongue was shot or timida. So the dark Karsa, no. This year, she ought tall, no, she now says Jackie was in the machine. What he had done in this word, that the sick Kasa the children in the Zomba you don't tell her. Shartse was in the disease to Jujashi, Jovasha, Zomba Tamjashi, Tishu and Jawati, she said. Ta longi si de da rong shi yeba pang shi do du si de in de be jo pang de go ba yeba de si ji shola ka di da la in the tong zhe zhe di do se.
Nice. A great Indian master whose name translated in Tibetan is Namnang Zek is something very something. So I don't know what exactly is the Indian name, so you have to forgive me for that. So the Tibetan word is Namnang Zek, an Indian commentator on the Shantideva's work. He says that when we take Shantideva's salutation, expression of worship, and the pledge of composition together, they highlight 6 important points. Yeah, and they said, for example, that where we talk about Sugadas, right, or Bodhisattva's children, so that shows about the content or the subject matter, right? We're going to talk about Bodhisattva's way of life, the content, and and also it highlights the purpose of doing that, Gerba, and because the purpose and the content and all of this are cohesively related, there is the cohesion, Delva, right, interrelatedness, that's 3. And then of course it's a salutation, respect is given, Chatseva, 4. And then as it says, I will explain in a condensed way. Buddha already did in a very extensive way, so I'm going to do in a condensed way. It means it's not like repeating exactly what Buddha did, so there's no problem with that. Okay? 5th point. And the 6th point is he said, I'm going to explain it in a condensed way in accordance with the scriptures. That shows the authenticity of the teaching, right? He's going to explain the Bodhisattva's way of life following Buddha's teachings. So this is like authentic teaching by the Buddha. So those are the 6 points highlighted according to Namnang Ze by the expression of worship and the pledge of composition.
What did Kasha Song La Yang Tangbo Cha Se like that this that you don't do Yang Cha Se the Zen of Nishin and the Java Se Cha Se and the Dimension that Cha Se or Ganga Cha Se, the Zen of Nishin, or Cha Se is young, you don't part to Tamisi, you said, or Dimita. Cha Se go about that Karsa. You know, Shartse was Shartse or Cheryl Shartse was that news that take Sibatella, Sanji said, Jesse, Sanji da, Sanji, and the sea Shartse saw till Shartse, Shadal, Shaw Gunas, that Gunas didn't do it, but what didn't she does was Sanji da, Sanji say Shartse, in the teacher that can the Charles over country, Kusum to the engine, that she good at the Bulgaria, the Royal Charles over Gangalia, Shartse, I think, or is Shartse said.
Chao said, Chao said, Sul Jugosum again.
La
Chao said,
Chao is quite a top down of yours. The Yondet of the Chicken Megan,
so some commentators says that the opening stanza, which is a salutation or expression of worship, where there's a mention of what called respectfully I prostrate, right? And that there's two types of prostration being done. One is prostrating to Sugatas or Tathagatas and the Bodhisattvas, right? Buddha's children, and also to all who are worthy of veneration, right? They may not be Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, but still they have many wonderful qualities, and they deserve veneration, and so to them also prostration is offered. Nice.
Karsa, never the soul shati, the Karsa talk she take a check then do show that you don't do talk she not degree young. Do you see the degree said this year? That did go drink she chevalas, that do slave so much house as go drink house. She does go drink house at so much time. She that go drink house at the Chidang any. Because 6 on you because Golden Gazi, and the Golden Gazi she said to there's a lady goes she said to what did it goes she rebason this young as a shagora. What did that? Don't what the 6 on the Golden Gazi, I think 6 the best Gangaleni goes she don't yours. Was the guys the cool Mengla and tell then the cool Kaji dish did you call then Toda Red Wire?
No.
But there is yours.
Nice.
That you look that the Golden God they on the Jena and the Golden God the Queen, the Tenjo del Junan go back the US things and the chap only in the picket that told you to the Jenny. You only in easy yours, easy doors, the doors that the same over the Mari. And that you has a going to touch it, so you touch as well. What he said that the Zoba Tabjashi the Golden Hawkway at the what the Govadoti Zoba Tabjashi the only in any Tonju to the Gen Juya, the only in easy Juashi, the Disaster Jubagala, said Derawa, or Demonja. Go so Yana that this year, that the Golden Hawk Yana Chishi. That then you Luigi goes, she said, did it. Karsa. There was Chanju Simbe Karsa. The Sanju Gomo did that the top Jaju, the top Lams Chanju Simbe Lamdijua. Pajiru Namja, Lamjin Bati, Chanju Sam the Javashi. Or together got that did the Juja del Delatene in the Dita Sanju Gomalia top Sanju Gomo top to war. What is a delicious dine? There's your delatane in Chanju Sim. She will say, Chivashidu Nyamzalan, and it is John the Lamb was Sanji or the negotiation. What tells you, Luigi goes to season to the Chagres.
Nice. So there are, several explanations given pertaining to Krasot Chushi. 4 interrelated features of a text that includes what are called the essence, the purpose, cohesion, and and the content. So one way is that any truthful statement, right, would have fulfilled those 4 interrelated things. The truth would be the content, right? And so there's a reason for that truth, what it accomplished like that. So any truthful statement, we can talk in general about 4 interrelated in those features. But those 4 interrelated features could also be explained in terms of the actual words in a text, right? Or that the 4 interrelated features could be explained in terms of the content of a treatise or a text. So here, if we go with, for example, the words actually in the text, just to give you a sense of that, the purpose here is that by the salutation, sharp faculty, how should I say, readers or the intended audience, they will really deeply understand the four interrelated features of this discourse, and they see the reasons why this matters, and they are going to engage in the Bodhisattva's way of life leading to enlightenment. But those who are not so sharp faculties, kind of which say relatively low faculty, so they may not understand everything like the sharp faculty intended audience, but they will develop the trust that, wow, these are trustworthy words, so therefore based upon more trust, they are going to admiration, they follow the way to enlightenment. So that's related to the purpose of the words of salutation. But as Geshe explained, the four interrelated features in terms of the content, we know that this discourse deals with Bodhisattva's path or Bodhisattva's practices, right? Starting with how to generate bodhicitta or the mind of enlightenment, then how to implement that, engage in the Bodhisattva actions or six perfections, and how those things will lead you to enlightened state. Okay? So the content itself is related to those things. Like if you achieve enlightenment, that is what we call the innermost purpose you fulfill, right? If you understand the Bodhisattva's way of life and practice it, that is also fulfilling the other level of purpose, and all of those things are cohesively related to each other, Delva in Tibetan, and then of course the content is the Bodhisattva's way of life.
What is Sumban did she just doing last study 6 months ago? She and the Gonjang Goshi, they Goshi, they Goshi, the Zodis. Till the he says Nyamling, Dom Samba Simjis, or did that, and it Simji Joash Tops and Dribut Java, the Georgia was, or the Georgia Ins or that. Georgie Chung de la Denda, and usual then the Semeto, the Driva Yam. Don't Yams La, then the Sanye Casato did Guvache, and the Teledan and the Sanye Homoto did negotiate. The Zodo, Desu Dita, or the usual teacher or teens. So the Chauju usual told any Chauju Simji, Sebia, Dovasuane, so the Shiru lawyer Yamsla. So the Yamsla or the Casato, the Guvache, then Yamsla. And the Tarsanje of the Nigusha. That the Gamashima Jawasha racing.
So of course we can explain the four interrelated features at different levels, but the most important one is how these four interrelated features, such as inner purpose or the purpose, actually to the body of the text, the discourse, right? That's the most important matter. And the body of the text we are dealing with is Bodhisattva's way of life. So how initially we can cultivate Bodhisattva's attitude or the awakening mind, bodhicitta, and then how can we engage in the six perfections of Bodhisattva's actions or the deeds, and how all of those things can bring us to the state of enlightenment. Yeah? And all of this really constitute the content of this actual discourse, right? And so when we understand what is bodhicitta, how to cultivate it, how to engage in the six perfections, and how all of these things can help us to become Buddha, that understanding is fulfilling the purpose of this discourse, right? And when we actually become Buddha, we have fulfilling the innermost purpose, Nyingwe, inner essence purpose, Tibetan, right, of that. And all of those things are interrelated, as we say, cohesively, right? To be able to become Buddha, you have to understand Bodhisattva's way of life. To understand Bodhisattva's way of life, we are dependent upon Shantideva's work to understand that. So those are all cohesively interrelated, right? There's a cohesion, okay? So this is how the four interrelated features, innermost purpose, content, and, how should I say, cohesive relations, are present in relation to the actual body of this text.
What team? Because that Jawat showed in said, that Javasila Yadaji that Teju said, the Tika she was at it. Then you the Govani Tab Josita, then you the Dene in the Teju, the King, Josatoya, the Tab, Tamjung, Teju, the Tab share. Let me tell it then that Tibasim Langi Toya, the Tamjung the share, or the Tab the Tazu Joyis. Ta gova de nigo ni yo de diu jo is gova de da tel den en lange ba to ya de wa ta de to ni nyams la ni ge sang je to ya de nigo sha go zo di ni de yo de diu jo is chi ru nyams la ni en sang je ro de yo de diu jo is chi da se da chi quan de de cha jo ta ta ju se na yo de diu se wa se chi quan de de ke de de wa de ngo de yang Nyong Geshe Shungdi Geshe Tong Tobe Tabda Tab Della den Geshe Tong Toba ne Goba de ne den Tab Shunga Dang de Tabi Nega Goba da Yoda Tele Shung Tadu Ni Gu ne Jibu de Da Shungi Tenju La Kajik Tenju Gi Mingi Gi Temba Shela Kajik Shuju Da Suba Tamja Temba Song de se deta na Juja Ju Suba Tamja de Zu the Guso Shi Tensha Peba Yang did the say Dom Shi Juba Shi Juja Dam Juba Sha Sheve Gueva da Deshi Shegi Konga Sheve Nigo de some more than Jawan Desin Sugar Ten She Gayu Sumba del tetara chade tene de sima sele ngwe den de shwe de shewo te da gozo shi shong tin zu la se so be yang de shewo de ngu shi yang de shewo ni yo do yang ju za de jawa tong di shema da ba te da dan jawa rang yi la gom je shewo ne to yin ji shewo pa je se ne ga ge tong zhe be sha ni Gobaten Tadu Tong River Nigo Den She is Sasan Java Shadows, Tadil Gozo Shiki, the Gozo Shiki, so but Tamse ten were she not call a show did Shina. Any church she does a ticket, any chevage in the country was attention to me, said you were the T Gozo Shiki Denguera. Takay the churches of a Java jukebox in the town. Java City, Shartse Lama Loya, Namja, she was the Telagozo Yungro. Says the Gosha Shigita goes, did the Shina, looking the deal Java Shati, Segremoto, Gonetta, the things of Gaga show Tengashina, the Gozo Shigita, they go.
No, sir. So when we look at the four interrelated features of this actual discourse, right? We talk about the innermost essence, which is achieving complete enlightenment, and then the purpose is to understand the Bodhisattva way of life, and which is very much contingent upon understanding the Shantideva's work. Okay, and then the Shantideva's work really does explain all the things one needs to know to become Bodhisattva and to become enlightened being. So those four interrelated features of the text, they are related in general. We can say there is a cause and effect relationship among many of them. Okay? When we can talk about relationship in terms of how two things are related in terms of their nature, or two things are related as cause and effect. So in this particular case, when we talk about the content of this discourse and the understanding that arises out of discourse, which is fulfilling a purpose, so these are called tabda tabchung. Right, the content looks like the method, and understanding arises out of that method. So method and method outcome kind of a connectivity between the two, if I literally translate it, right? In other words, there's a cause and effect relationship here too. In the case of the purpose and the innermost purpose, the purpose is understanding Bodhisattva's path, and the innermost purpose is becoming enlightened being. So these are related in a cause and effect, right? If you understand Bodhisattva's way of life, you put it in practice, then you become Buddha, right? The Buddhahood is the outcome. Or that if we practice all the things that Bodhisattva's way of life, then we are going to become Buddha. So the practice and Buddhahood are interrelated but cause and effect relationship, right? So those are the things mentioned. Just a footnote, I think the commentary Geshe is using is a very extensive one, I gather, that on they present many perspectives, and you and I don't have the commentary, so if you think where it's coming from. And so as Geshe explained that usually we might explain those 4 interrelated features of a text may be more related to the pleasure of composition, right? It's not about Dhamma, where on page 3 it says, here I shall explain how to engage in the vows of the Bodhisattva's sons, the meaning of which I have condensed in accordance with the scriptures, right? That. But many commentators say that this is not the only place where those 4 interrelated features are explained. They said even the salutation right in the beginning, expression of worship, that also highlights the 4 interrelated features. Some others said that where the words it says, I shall explain how to engage in the vows of Bodhisattvas, those few words will also highlight the 4 interrelated features. Nice. So remember, how is great Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Shantideva going to explain Bodhisattva's way of life? He said, I'll do that in a very condensed way in accordance with the scriptures, right? Condensed way meaning that, Buddha has already taught everything, but very extensively, not in a condensed form. Everything is dispersed, right? Everywhere. So it's very hard to follow that. And so therefore I'm going to put it in a very spoon-feeding condensed way. So therefore there is a purpose behind my work. Okay? Now it looks like a critic is taking that an issue like, well, you don't have to do that condensed, because if Buddha already explained, people will understand, you don't have to worry about condensing it, And then Shantideva was, at least the commentator who's saying that, yeah, maybe that's true for the experts, right? Because they can read themselves extensively what Buddha said, understand. But people with the low faculty, they may not be able to understand because Buddha has taught so much, it's overwhelming. So therefore, for the benefit of those who need kind of a very easy to understand way, so I present it in a condensed form. So still it works.
la thongar mata ba mejang seg kuwe cheba nyenga yin zeba cheba gawachi ni ba shigyo da shena thol cheba me ma se ani joje seg gon joje seg gon chang sig na so je zeba tebe se nyenga da yige tiya be so la so be devjor cheba du chapa be cheba dal yo mande me shiba so yeze ti ji chen He namju dan deba mambo gashi yi chobe gonan juba jubi tondi teju de zomba shawo nyambe samba da la meje wa te tonda tsela kebe se kingbe nga ji chongne he jing te suyi zaba yinji nge chege nge gi shebe dela sel haba diong ene Lakbar Solaya Mejeve, Kingsom Ye, Zamba Menche, Be Tonosa. Timida, that the king was a direct Harsa. And Joseph told the Sanji Soya Musuya Mena, and Tibet sick devil to the young Devjor that young article, Niembo to the York, I think Niembo, yes. He told Sabashia, Mashi, the Jewish thing, Niembo here, miss. And that here, man, today, Tinica Hoyman and Cardesan, that really, the son of Guvas came into us. Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen, and the Geshe saying woman, and the Zambi government is enough. This also comes. So be a child, the Kobadia, Kon, the parish, the Zamba is the land of the Jahori.
No, sir. We are on page 3, stanza 2. Let me read the stanza first. There is nothing here that has not been explained before, and I have no skill in the art of rhetoric. Therefore, lacking any intention to benefit others, I wrote this in order to acquaint it to my mind. Unquote. So the explanation given on this is called in Tibetan King Kyungwa, expression of humility or humbleness. Okay? And so what Shantideva has said literally is there's nothing here that has not been explained before. In terms of content, subject matter, there's nothing new here. If you're expecting something new that Buddha did not say at all, there's nothing here for you. Because Buddha said everything in terms of the content of Bodhisattva's way of life. So don't expect that. There's nothing in terms of content I have anything to say. Now maybe you're looking for some literary values and poetic expressions and rhetorical skills like that. Well, I have none either. So there's nothing here for you either. Yeah? So now people are going to say, then what's the point of doing this? You have nothing new to say that Buddha has not said it. You claim that you have no poetic skills or rhetorical skills, so there's nothing to look in this. So why bother to do this work? Yeah? And Shantideva says, I wrote this in order to acquaint it to my mind. I did this just to familiarize my own mind intimately and more with Bodhisattva's attitude or bodhicitta. That's the reason why I did it. Yes.
What said Gashi de Rondo Luno Numbes, Kanza Shinji told the Maji Shevata Shager Davos, that Kanza Loman told the Shev inside, and the Kanza Keva told the Shev Mahin that Todajiwara sing to Toziwara, or they say, the Kanta say, the data was data target told the dance of Tong de danger the Zaba Meba Shungi Denlas, or the Takanza Keba to the Gaji to the Demaris.
No, sir.
Tilma said, long as Majuma Journal, young Lum Koan Joatang, Yanga Tang, Dev Jor Samje, Gaden Davis, Ton Samo, the Tobatang, Toba Muniban, did Temba and Jever Song Sosa, Trita. Tada, and the Sanjing and Masumbe, Lam Sabar Deme, and Lam the Nundusha do this. Lam Shinji Malog, Sanji Den Fagura, that tell Shiro the Gena, and Nundusha do that show that they go zero that. The goose there, that Sanji Sung the Mosu Den Nugumares Songra. Did they show the curse and so tell Sanji Sung shall tell Lam Shada Deme. And the land Nundu Mother Yomaris. And that the Virginia said to the Tagan to say 6 hours a Yambo Tija Mother the Sanjia, the Tavacha, Lamila, Ribata, ten by the Shabbat of some and they get them shot that young as you was called some Toya Yomara, Toda or Tagora. The Virginia said Segura Tagora, that did Toda and some Gora. Was a theory, the show they are the Virginia Kevada, you said, the Shiki Mess of Womaris.
No, sir.
The Jota, the Yanga, Yimbulam, Chivo, she told in the Lamji, but then popped over Maris.
No, sir.
In some years was Savas, no show, that don't go to the
So Shantideva said, there's nothing here that has not been explained before, meaning for the experts and scholars, right? If they are kind of waiting for something new for me to say that Buddha has never said before, there's nothing here. Don't expect it. Yeah. And then there are people who are really into poetic expressions, rhetorical skills like that. Well, I have none either. Don't expect me anything here. Okay. And but those are the words. Literally, we find it here. But implicitly, there is meaning behind all of those things. What he's saying is that, Buddha has already taught every spiritual path. Nothing is left unsaid, isn't it? And if you don't follow Buddha's way and you kind of teach a new path, you are going to go wrong, right? That's not going to be authentic path because Buddha, did not teach it, and that could go mistake. That's the implication of it. Okay. So that's why he said, I'm going to say what Buddha already taught. I'm not going to stray away from Buddha, right? Teach some new path, because that's going to be misleading path, right? That's the implication, okay? And also, when he said, I have no skill in the art of rhetoric, it's not like Shantideva, has no poetic skill or rhetorical skill. What this really means is that what matters more when you do a discourse on Dharma is the meaning, content, isn't it? If you pay too much attention to the flattery words, the beauty expression, poetic, all of those things, you may not be able to express the profound and extensive meaning of the Dharma. What matters more is the meaning, not the expression. So therefore, he said, I'm not going to get bothered with the poetic and rhetorical expressions and composition here.
Gyeltsen kenda shigoze, da no de zama kandre de di kandre de fiji dire. Shira juni shizu lo tu se ajorwa. Di kandre de joju jwa fiji zu zwo di shizu lo tu jwa di zu zu se. Kandre de tenju zoba le devjo le sollemba tang lemba te chu zewa so zu sheba ta. Penda ba sollemba Simdua zo shewa te Tsuyin yuwa le lobun shewa lai deni pendo ba lo lemba yinji Devjo de nyenga la soba zo shewa ne mayin to sheso tang se Te ta yin du sin jang de la se guso to me de saba me shate Yuja su pusu soba da de yi Kebar gube gube shedo pusu soba juwa yin sheda yang no lobun Uto toba to deba sikbe tsikla ni goba la soba meba toba miriba sheso to rongi tondi tsambara nyebe ni keba gombe nga yeji gashi ki chwe ki dasha jisu sungmi kusi shewa paje shewa dobe sheda kewa jamba kuna tedala peban je teban je tebe nudu tenju shabara rekso she Goba shi so ye lobong chenbu kishina pa songmo sa ta tire ja kaje karsa jidong deju zongge de ya tsik zewa shi ge inde nyenga deju de zu sing zenge chi yong ti deju de no semle ya penya tondale zu sing ge tsik kora ta zu mo ji semle pendo shi ge de ni ye za inde lobong Shawala di ene semle pendo shiba zu shi di on di ene zewe stejo. With tsik nyembo zu shi den zeo ma reshi. Ina di deju le de pendo me ma di tiba shebo lam yirba ene cha sangwa den du zana ene di karsa josa pusu so ba den yori shita de delia deju de ya ene goba me wa di de ene kare tsik da nyenga de devjo me na ene ko deju hebas kai ma reshi.
A great commentator, Shijung Lode, in his commentary called Commentary or Illustrating Difficult Points, Kandel, because I think he's regarded as kind of a prime commentator among many commentators here. So what he's saying is that we find different types of authors. Some authors, like they pay much attention to their writing skill, like the poetic expressions, the rhetorical skills, the fine writing art, all of those things. But there are some others who don't pay much attention to that importance, but what they care about is how much they can benefit others, right, by their work. And Shantideva's work belongs to that category. that Shantideva did not pay much attention to the art of rhetoric or poetic expressions, but he paid full attention to what's going to be beneficial to others. Okay? And so therefore he said we must not undermine this discourse of Shantideva, okay? Because this discourse is greatly meaningful, because it fulfills the four interrelated purposes, right? This discourse presents complete stages of the path of Bodhisattvas leading to enlightenment. So it is a greatly meaningful treatise. So we must not look down on it, because Shantideva says, I have no skill in the art of rhetoric, that I have nothing new to say, right? Don't discount the importance of this work or the discourse.
我这可是写都是我能第几都是上面怎么写怎么的写完了是个别的写那个别月吧等的，这当然容易了上面手续是做写完是，特别是我容易让人俺呢这个月吧那没有去票的，俺们那讲我们的娱乐这边写，你登记的怎么我们写完一点，怎么他写把它写呢？怎么他写把它写呢？同时我说到就写了是，我的怎么他写把写呢？这话他可是，但是那么老呀他写把写呢？那上去我这个我的个人是的，可是他的我们是呢。你现在给我们地让多给我就写的啊，所以俺这就是那个干啥，这吧拉那个拉那理由的是，然后呢，这个要恐怖这样的，拉三八节这些些，因为他都要上去我们的，这个我有的是，现在给我面了，所有的给我有的是，这些。
So if we go by the word, therefore, lacking any intention to benefit others, seems like this, discourse. It's not intended to benefit others, but that's not what it is. Of course, the emphasis seems to be on the next one. I wrote this in order to acquaint it to my mind. So there is like fulfilling one's vision or the aspiration. Shantideva says, I want to, develop more and more familiarity and enhance my own bodhicitta. Right? Through that, I will be able to engage and complete the 6 perfections, deeds, so that I can become Buddha to benefit others. So the emphasis on one's own spiritual sort of growth here, all for the benefit of others, right? So therefore, we must not think that this discourse serves no purpose.
我的他可是他听见我，他主要介绍的是的，是吧？主要介绍呢。我空就说的是，我那让个空的马去呢，兄弟把没人来，空的学那天天空人这个说我是，敲我，让到的让的做没过的，做把那因为这边就因为说些那，小就一生说提前了一样的，他一送就要加什么我呢？学过南街是有名的是空白就是让有了这么少，我们这把社会吃的就是准备了学把人了，这样熊准备告诉马大马这吧，让个就把面积特别是不熊送了，你都他大30家小那人都大些，这的这把些呢是。怎么了就把赢了？第现在大概就了，挺多一些也是特别凶什，因为这些也凶的个吧，在大概讲这些的唐伯上有了空白的用了，先把这些这些的日本当把一边说是，这样控制的些吧，的全把怎么的，那。吃落了夏天空的学吧，咱就从学到有了没见没那边，你们帮我说一小娃西没弄了，但是嘛是那点就可不行，这把钱呢，那退役学吧那讲这把就话等，马西那边说，这把马西那退役学吧就话那就这把就话等，听讲你个的上学生意培养什么说，那你人别同得了样样生吧的。这话的，我把到把有人空间这话写完嘞， 디 유콩베드 요와도 콤바타시는 돈세와 고소도 요소 고베도 대다 저바른 요와 땡도 스다디 캥종와세디 디 거서 또아지마세야 되겠다 소소 정수성가모에 냐올레 디 냐올레 가서 디에 율제와 디 콤베드 아마제바 디 사바제야셰 오 디저 주소 공도 배워 토야레 디버드 고바요리스 에네데 람리아 다가 자좀 대반도 찍고 시는 시야 말이스 텐도 이시스야 다 디아지 텐도시 대바세 대발에 걸어서 당회 대바세 공도 대바세 이시 대바세 손도와 당회 대바세에 가서 다 연대절 연대 다 고조 자도 좋아서 당회 대바세야 들어와 다 소소 디시 턱도 스타트 정신 깨고도 돈이도 써야도 돈내야 될 때 가르스다 가서
뭔데
되베 대바세 주바세 들어와 다 린데스 이시셔야 될야 아니 이시 대바세 어디에 딱제 시에 뒤에가 딱제 시에 에베 정선아 줄게 싫어도 제 에는 소소 가게 정년도 제가 양중 매월에 이제 해야 말이 딱다시 되게 타시면 시디에 시다 제가 시샤와 디제 공도 펴야다 마시나 tel야 당보 시에대서 고는 편도 말이 유증본 딘 아니 공고 쿠바타싱고 레스 어 진짜 돈달린 잠베 인서다 도도르
So Bodhisattva or Shantideva takes delight in his own discourse of the work, Dorjee, right? Looks like he's saying that there's nothing here for others, right? I don't intend to benefit others. But what he's saying is, I'm doing this to acquaint my own mind with bodhicitta. But that's a great thing, you know. But then, of course, critics says, well, if you're only doing it for yourself, why you have to write this, you know? Just think for yourself, right? Because they said writing is a distraction, you know. And so Shantideva is saying that, you know, in order for us to be able to experience bodhicitta, enhance it, and engage in the bodhisattva's actions leading to enlightenment, acquainting our mind with bodhicitta is very vital. Those who have not yet developed bodhicitta, right, we have to learn about it, and then we have to cultivate it, right? That's important. Those who have generated bodhicitta, you know, we have to acquaint our mind more and more with the bodhicitta so that it gets enhanced, it is furthered, right? Because it's not enough just to have a faith in Bodhisattva's discourse. Faith is important, inspiring, but we need to acquaint, familiarize our mind more and more with bodhicitta. That's how the spiritual growth and development happens, and so that's where the emphasis is. So in terms of faith, as Geshe says, we can talk about different types of faith, three. One is we called, Dharma. It is literally translating called very pure faith, clear faith, which means that, you know, when we think about Buddhas, the three jewels, right, we kind of admire their qualities, you know, and we just kind of feel pure admiration for them, and that is faith. Then there is the aspiring faith, which means that we would like to acquire the same qualities. We also like to become a bodhisattva, become a Buddha. So that's more like aspiring faith, right? We would like to emulate them and become one. Then there is what called faith as conviction, yiche, trust. You know, this is like, you know, when we study about law of karma and outcomes, and how the law of karma is infallible, right? And so we think about all the reasons. So when we trust the law of karma, so that's kind of a conviction, trust, faith as a trust. So there's all kinds of faiths that could be very inspiring and help us to grow spiritually. But more important, in so to speak, is to familiarize, to acquaint our master, to habituate our mind more and more with bodhicitta, with bodhisattva's actions leading to enlightenment.
No, that didn't 도주 책 도주를 곰세야 돼. 그 유는 곰그세야 돼. 곰세야 가래세나. 곰시와 니슨 게미발라 양도 대비. 민음 유경화소 가서 유경화 공신 제발 시비 동대스. 딱 가서 곰자세데 곰세데 어디에서 오자. 노스. Tong this the Imbecares, Karsa Lobo Shushi Siajuro, Doja Jason did Shushi Siajuro, or this word. Shushi, you Gomba Shiva, she shall eat the Gawaji Shiva. Ting over Shio, he Sumba, that in this, Ting over Shiva said, this is what I Ninja comes in the same to call Ninja Muba Doya, Solution comes in the same to Solution Muba Doya, or Tiber Metaba combat that only to come to the Kavaro.
No.
But then the goes and some kind of thing would at the race.
No.
Ting over shared Karsa go by in Karsa, Penna, Tebagum, Ninja go Sheva, eat the number in the Sheva, Kogo by Hen was, or the Gomes at these. Ta gomba ta komba ni thong chik shi chik chik ke do ja chik bi shi lo zo na ja re ga gombe lam shi wa jo la re gombe lam shi jo an je wa yi ba song so se se de gom da kom se di e di kodo chik ba thoda chik ba re go res e lo zo zu bu ge jo de kha ji gom se jo kha ji khom se jo de Dharma jo ja se da di thoda chik ba res wa di mu ra song so sa da tong ji shi sim tong ji shi sim ge ming nam la kong yin je ba shi go ba ka je ba sha go ba yin ya na da di de da go zo go ja go ba de da di ne ga ru re go ro ka nya na tong ma me ni sim rang on di kyo ba ju ji Ronnie Sim on the journey, and those Sim, those out down the journey in the Tea Party, the Onsaganga military cat. She that gomes at the Osaganga Silentosona, and that gomes at the river.
No, so.
You move just a short, New Joe Tamje, Java Shiva Yilla. Teta was Sim the dog on the scene, gave me well. Seda do the good room Shavi Shady, so Gomba is that Gomba Gover of the Tata Pajela in the ransom on the Sim the Doja on the Doris. That they go on the jazz and Sim the wrong on the Yom, ransom on the Yomugo, Sim the Kawati, the Suzu Kawatan, the Jasina, and Yasagan do what is over. Go I do a shade, go by in was, or the Gomja Gova to this year. Jaya Saba the Jache, Tiji Suna Nala, Tebamund to Muba the Tedagi. Tenship and Dubatabu, Tosum so you go nest, taking a Yirimba, Yeba Kobiton, Tibashibu Rigi, Nuba so Yeva Shave, Tau showed the Joa in la, Tene Tiba, taking the Shube, Le Tambo and Namjija, Les show 2 inches, Tibashibu Shunla, Tato Sheva Sola, Kumdi Sheva, Tonda Jeva, Guba the Jeva was it, Le Tambo, the Gumya dia Topa Sheba the Gumya is a hundred Tokmas, the regular Marisu. Not to Tamio to go to TNG
So I think all that reading and explanation given, I think pertains to that the Tibetan word Gom, which is translated as meditation in general, and I think in this text this is called also be translated as to acquaint one's mind or to familiarize, right? So what does meditation mean, Gom in Tibetan? So in general it means that we familiarize or acquaint our own mind with a positive focus, with a virtue, right? We have a virtuous focus or object of meditation, and we familiarize our mind, acquaint it more and more with that. That's what the meditation means. And so that's how a great master Geshe explained it. And as Geshe said, when we talk about meditation, it depends what kind of meditation you are doing. And if we are meditating on compassion, what this means is that we are generating our own mind, right, in the nature of compassion. If we are meditating on bodhicitta, altruism, we are generating our own mind, in terms of bodhicitta. Okay. Now, if we are meditating on impermanence and emptiness, that's not the same. We are simply focusing our mind on impermanence and emptiness. So it depends what kind of meditation we are doing. So we need to understand that kind of distinction. But then why do we meditate? What's the purpose of that? Goba. And it's explained that since beginningless time until now, we let ourselves be controlled by our mind. Our mind is controlled by afflictive emotions, right? Ignorance, attachment, anger, and all of that. Yeah. So it is as if we lost control over our own mind. Our mind is captivated and manipulated by something else, isn't it? So meditation means that now we should bring our mind under our control. Don't let mind control us. Don't let afflictive emotions control the mind. But let's bring the mind under our control, right? That's what meditation means. So that we don't let our mind be dictated by, manipulated by, influenced by afflictive emotions such as attachment and anger. Okay, so that's what the purpose of meditation is, So we will stop there today, and if there are any questions, we will answer them, and then I have an announcement and prayer to do. So we have a question here. How does a Buddha help sentient beings? Does the Buddha transform into a Bodhisattva in order to interact with people? Yeah. Sanje gi da semjen gi tuen zegi orwa. Tuen zedan se kande zegi ore sa changju sembe namal ma phe rwa gen. Changju sembe namal ma phe je rwa. Am mi da doctor chen ne phendo chi go rwa sa. Da sanje gi semjen gi tuen zedan je rwa gen. Changju sembe namal ma phe yo am mi nyam da nganje ne ke je ga thodi che che rwa. Ba din de chen ne phendo chi go rwa sa ke. Sanje gi kanje semjen gi tuen zedan de sung ro sa.
Da sanje semjen thon de da 나도 요래세 상제가 다자다면서 상제 배 거랑 남아시는 동생으로 와. 그때 뭐 자주 세면 남아시는 대당 요 샤데르다 알아서 뭐시다 동대선데 배 다들 깨라 주는 가면자 요래세 근데 거라 건도게 있는 동생으로래세. 미제랑 심지어 동생이 시대자를 배 있는 치토부 되게서 어디에 가고 말이지. Buddhas, benefit sentient beings in many different ways, not just one way. Yes, they could appear as bodhisattvas, right, to interact with sentient beings and benefit them. But in the case of Shakyamuni Buddha, right, he appeared in an ordinary form to benefit us. Okay? Or that, Buddha could, manifest, sometimes even as birds and animals, right, to be able to benefit birds and animals. And it depending upon the needs of the sentient beings and the circumstances and fulfilling other conditions, Buddhas can appear in any form that is befitting the occasion and the needs, right? So Buddha can benefit sentient beings in many ways. So definitely as Bodhisattva, but as birds and animals, and so in the form of an ordinary being. So we find a lot of those stories in the Jataka Mala, Buddha's garland of life stories, how Buddha manifested in many ways to benefit sentient beings. So with that, I have some announcements to make and do some prayers. Any updates? No. Already gone.
No, not yet.
Oh.
They're waiting for the doctor.
Oh. So the Kyamju Shaya Kashi Shuya Tanda Dirwa Gang on the Mimila Yung de Yorwa, Mimi Lagan de Kenta, was a kidding by ships. That Lord Yush Katan, that Peche Halam Doyasm Ling Medo, Tanda Dota Medua. She was a king, that Loma Bear, never tell again. Then did to make him just not on her, what the Kadiston again. Chen Morvan Sadan de that news test the Temple Lab another one. Then the young colony too much games in our work. That then again, COVID Nazaki Missum Tron the wagon. Delia, Jim just now on did again Ming the where are the names? Give me a second, I hope. Please Bear with me. I think internet connection is. There is again the Vietnamese nya again. PH Bun Sarwake Tongsha. Nguyen Quang Tien Sage. Nguyen Long V Sadikadi than the Tognedi can Tongs again. So we have a couple of prayer requests. Number one, many of us know, Mimi Migi, one of the oldest, students of our Geshe. And for me, she has been personally kind, like a mother. So it's kind of very hard that now I think she's not making through, but still struggling. So we request Sanghas and all of us to pray for Mimila so that she can, positively face the inevitability. And definitely tomorrow is a talk day, so we will do more prayers. So there, I have got 3 more names who have passed away because of COVID-19. And their names are Phi Ich Ban, Nguyen Quang Tin, Nguyen Long V. Unfortunately, they, died of COVID-19. So we will together do some prayers, and then after that, I have an announcement to make as well. Shadong Kolun Gyuwe, Gyawon Dong, Jendong, Gyawa Sangbe, Sangye Dong, Kala Kandu, Dela, Jemba, Jere, Sela, Chanze, the Omani Beme, 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 Omani Beme. Omani Beme, 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 Omani Beme. Omani Beme, 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 Omani Gyawan Di Yondo Da Jere Sewan Rujo Nen Dowa Jigama Di Sana Gebara Show. I have an announcement that our monks will start 13 deity Yamantaka mandala tomorrow. And as they did before, they will do every, I think at 10, the long sadhana of Yamantaka. And so when it's completed, and there will be a self-empowerment or self-initiation of Yamantaka for those who received the empowerment and who did the standard retreat. Okay? So after that, they will also do Vajrayogini mandala. And do the Vajrayogini sadhana every day, and once it's completed, and after that, my understanding is there will be Vajrayogini self-empowerment as well for who did the Vajrayogini retreat. So this just got heads up information for you. So it starts tomorrow at 10. Kange Lode Dimye Dende Ninda Nanda Rabseve Jinye Dungu Chishe Seche Nije Toga Lebo Kanda Zebe Zera Mande Mendo Dunge Yese Lozo Kwenla Boje Daze Yema Truche Yangde Son Loda Chedo Nemo Meje Jangdong Tenzin Mari Mense Dongeng Xinye Zhenze Radi Nan Dene Daji Saju Yunden Lenzong Geshe Tuvi Gu Juda Juda Junyi Jambe Yangla Du Omara Bazana Omara Bazana De Zenden Keje Genra Vese Dalu Timo Mimba Gaden Denje Shunlong Doba Ye Lode Bobe Na Zendo Se Lode Gyatse Yudong Bega De Gesan Pongwe Judong Memba Tenpa Zenla Wando Jichebe Tangye Wade Changju Semjo Rinpo Se Maje Bana Yeyo Je Gewa Nyamba Gone Gondo Bewa Sho Tongye Dawa Rinpo Se Maje Bana Gewa Nyamba Meba Yang Gone Gondo Bewa Sho Sa Shi Beje Joshe Medo Zhang Rira Lingshi Ninde Yenpa Sanje Shindo Mede Viva Dogen Nanda Shinla Jeba Sho Kanri Rabe Korbe Shinkam De Pentam Dewa Malu Jung Jere Sewa Tenzin Dorjee Shab Tengyo Je Idang Wuru Rana Mande Niyang Daya Min Gyawa Gwendo Yangda Lama Dan Deme Chege Pela Longje Sada Lamje Yunden Rabzo Nen Doje Change Goba Nyodo